NFL training camp is getting ready to start. What are the expectations for former Clemson first-round defensive lineman Bryan Bresee with the New Orleans Saints? I'm going to discuss all of that next on the Locked On Clemson podcast.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Clemson family? Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast, your daily podcast covering your Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian, always on the ones and twos. You can find and follow me on Twitter at DP_NFL. I'm a national scout over with the Draft Network, as well as part of the co-host team of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. And guys, as always, I thank y'all so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every single day. Every time I drop these episodes, I appreciate all the love and support, guys. But we have a nice, fun show to really tap into. We have a 5-star 2025 offensive tackle recruit that Clemson's really going after, and it's kind of in their favor right now, but we'll see how it ends out within the next year or so. ESPN dropped their decade rankings now, 2010s, 2020s. Where will Clemson lie on those rankings and on those lists? And of course, to kick off the show, we're gonna get into eyes on the league. Defensive tackle Bryan Bresee with the New Orleans Saints. What's the word coming out of New Orleans? How has he looked through minicamp and everything, OTAs? And then what are my expectations for him going into training camp? But before we get into all of that, guys, got to go give a quick shout out to FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. As I said, guys, eyes on the league. With Bryan Bresee going, he being selected, I believe, 29th overall, first round, the back end of the first round of the 2023 NFL draft class to the New Orleans Saints. This was a fit that I liked. I actually had Bresee off of the tape. I had him graded as like a high second round pick. And there's a lot of off the field circumstances and things of that nature that definitely have injuries and things going on in his personal life, his sister and his family and everything. But talent wise, it was always, if we can get him, keep him healthy, and then get him back to being the Bryan Bresee that we saw as a freshman, just a disruptive, dominant force. We have a player. Right. And I remember seeing a lot of comps for him. I remember seeing some people compare him to at the time, it was Nebraska's defensive tackle, but he's Super Bowl champion. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL in Damian Suh. And I didn't see that type of, because the Damian Suh was just so much more physically dominant, being big, powerful, the long arms, everything. Like, his game was more power, physicality, and aggression. Where I looked at Bryan Bresee as more, his game was physical and everything, but it was also a little bit more quick twitch and finesse style as well. So again, reading some of the things through mini camps and OTAs, ESPN's Catherine Terrell, broke down the first impression from Bresee through all season camps. It said, and the quote is, Bresee has gotten snaps with the first team defensive tackles at times, and he'll likely continue to be swapped into the rotation throughout the summer. While it's no sure thing he'll be a day one starter yet, he'll certainly get his share of first team reps in training camp and into the season if he stays healthy. He's already settling into New Orleans and has been taking advice from veteran defensive end Cameron Jordan, which that's a great nugget there, because he's one of the best in the league, but he's also one of the more intelligent guys in the league and understanding how to win, how to set guys up. He's a great teacher and tutor. I think when they hold the pass rush summit that Von Miller does every offseason or every summer, I remember seeing watching clips of Cam Jordan talking, and you could just understand like he can help guys get better and take their game to the next level. Another quote here. I think this is from Saints coach Dennis Allen. He's been talking about Bresee. He's probably a little more sudden, a little more quick than maybe I anticipated. at the conclusion that this is what Coach Allen said at the conclusion of minicamp. The things I've been most pleased with is really his intelligence level and his work ethic. He's worked extremely hard throughout the offseason, and I'm looking forward to him being a key contributor for us. And that those are what things that you want to hear, right? Like that for things that you love to hear. Those are things that you love to hear because we know how talented Bresee is. We know how physically gifted he is. And it's all about him staying healthy and putting it all together. And on a defensive line, and even if he's not the day one starter, right? I think what's going to be big for him is I want him lined up alongside. He's playing that defensive tackle. I want him at 3 tech, and I want him on the same side of the formation, flanking Cam Jordan, because Cam Jordan's going to get a lot of attention. So if they're going to shift slide protection towards Cam anyway, I want to put him right there in that spot as a single gap penetrator, so he can get upfield, get vertical, and get into the face of the quarterback. And he gets advantageous one-on-one matchups. And I think with that, we can see the freshman Clemson version as an NFL rookie in Bryan Bresee. And for training camp, I think that's the biggest thing right now, right? Training camp is a couple weeks away. And one of my expectations for him is to continue what he's already started, right? The glowing review of coming in, getting first team reps, working hard, showcasing more quickness and suddenness and explosiveness than even the head coach who drafted him anticipated from him, right? So continue to come in there, continue to be in good shape and good health and ready to rock and roll. I think for him, showcasing his ability as that single gap penetrator, but also you think about rundowns. If they wanted to put 2 bigger defensive tackles into in the 4-man front to help stuff the run on the interior, you have a Bryan Bresee that And I was watching Tyler Davis and Rook Oro. You know what I mean? Still trying to get that name down. But when I was watching Rook and TD, one thing that I would notice Bryan Bresee kicked out to end, sometimes stand up, hand in the dirt. And you would see the quick pass rush moves. You see the spin move inside and out. You just see the quickness and suddenness that Coach Dennis Allen was surprised about. So you can put him on, say, run on first and second down. You can put him at defensive end. He can help you in the run game because there's not too many tight ends that are going to be able to handle a guy of his size, speed, and physical nature and physical play style. So I think that could work for them as well. But at the end of the day, the bread will be buttered on passing downs. That's the key here, guys. The bread will be buttered on passing downs. And on those passing downs, you want to put him in those advantageous situations. You want to create the game is it's a mismatch game. Technically all team sports are, right? Especially basketball and football. They are games that your success is predicated on identifying and locating, and then exploiting the opposition's mismatch. So if I can get, Bryan Bresee on a less athletic interior offensive lineman, whether that be the center or the guard, and get him one-on-one, I'm going to do that. And I think Bryan Bresee is going to be able to bring that to the table for this team and for this defense. Like I said, even if he's not a day one starter, I know, yes, we like guys to be day one starters, but if he's not a day one starter, it's okay. It's fine. It's no big deal, mainly because if he's not a day one starter, he can still come in as a rotational piece and bring fresh legs, juice, power, explosiveness off the ball and off the bench rather. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I expect. I'm gonna say this. They've moved. They've lost some guys. David Onyemata. I'm blanking on his name right now. Marcus Davenport's gone. They've lost some bodies on that defensive line. I expect him to to walk into training camp as a rookie that has to earn it. And I believe that he's going to earn a starting job. I think that the opportunity, the road doesn't have as many obstacles, right, for him. Hit the path and the track doesn't have as many obstacles, in my opinion, for him to carve out a starting role. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's my expectation for the big fella Bryan Bresee, because like I said, we keep eyes on the league on our Clemson Tigers that are in the NFL, whether they're rookies, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6 year players. If they're entering the big season, we're going to talk about them on this show. But guys, listen, you want to talk about big things? ESPN dropped their decade rankings. Ranking teams over the last couple decades, and we're going to see where Clemson lands coming up next. Baseball is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. Because, guys, listen to me. Right now, new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Let me repeat myself so you can hear me clearly. You get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. What do you need to do? Just do this. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today and sign up and join. Now, listen, if you're a fan of the Mets, the Yankees, the Marlins, the Mariners, whatever MLB team you're a fan of, you can bet on your team, guys. And the Braves, being close to Atlanta, a team that I've followed closely, you can bet on them as well. So what do you need to do? You don't want to miss your chance to snag a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. All you need to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel is the official betting partner of Major League Baseball. ESPN's decade rankings, and where do the Clemson Tigers land on this list? We're about to get into that because in this ranking, they what they did is they ranked the best college teams of every decade, and it was Bill Colony, ESPN staff writer. Shout out to Bill for a fantastic article. And like I said, he went 1920s, like he did his reason, he did his homework, man. He did his homework. He went all the way back into times where we weren't even around, right? But I'm looking at the more recent decades, and that's the 2020s and the 2010s. And I'm going to list off the 2010s first. Alabama at number 1. And number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, LSU. Number 4, Oklahoma. Number 5, Georgia. Number 6 is Wisconsin. Number 7 is your Clemson Tigers. Number 8 is Texas A&M. Number 9, Oklahoma State. And number 10 is Auburn. Now, we're going to get into, he even broke it down, too, as well as the 5 best offenses and 5 best defenses in that decade as well. Unfortunately, Clemson didn't make either of those for the 2010s. Okay, cool. It's no problem. No problem. For the 2020s, number 1, again, Alabama. No change there. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia's at number 3, Michigan's at number 4, Clemson, your Tigers are at number 5, Oklahoma's at 6, Notre Dame's at 7, Iowa, and the fact they don't have offense is incredible. Iowa's at number 8, and then you have Utah at 9 and Cincinnati at 10. And so he put the 5 best teams, for the 2020s, 2020 Alabama, 2022 Georgia, 2021 Georgia, 2022 Michigan, 2022 Alabama, and for the 5 best teams. And that's kind of that Alabama was kind of suspect to me because they were not that good in 2022, but then you had the 5 best offenses of the 2020s, 2020 Alabama, 2020 Ohio State, 2021 Ohio State, 2021 Alabama, and 2020 Florida. The best defenses, Clemson's not on either one of these lists either, guys. But again, Clemson has made, they made the list in terms of being in the top 10. And it's, it's definitely respectable. They made some of the other teams as well. And when you look at it, for me, I think it's hard to leave them out of the best offenses, because I'm like, okay, the 2010s, like, wasn't there times where, like, that's when like Deshaun and and Trevor were around? Like, am I losing it? Am I tripping right now? Because I swear that's when they won title. I'm pulling up the college stats here, right? And I'm just like, okay, wait a second. The 2010, like, yes, Deshaun was there from 2014 to 2016, right? 2015 and 2016, he threw for over 4,100 yards in both seasons. You know what I mean? He had about 76 passing touchdowns. Okay, and he's got a national title out of that where he beat Alabama. Okay, fine. Let's go to Trevor Lawrence real quick. Let's go to Trevor Lawrence. Let's see, 2018 to 2020. So he's right on the cut. He's right in the midst of that, right? And this is touchdown Jesus we're talking about. And listen to me, over 3,200, over 3,100 yards passing each season, right? And in the 2020 season, he would have had much more than that if it wasn't for the fact that season was cut short because that was the COVID year. So he missed anywhere from 2 to 5 extra games. But, each 30 touchdowns, 36 touchdowns, 24 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions each season. He had 90 touchdowns to 17 interceptions for over 10,000 passing yards, and he didn't even play a full season the final year. So I get it. I understand. Like, yes, don't get me wrong. Some of those Bama-led teams, yeah, bro, listen. With Tua and Jesus, Tua, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. Like, I get it, man. I under Josh Jacobs and all Najee Harris and all these backs. But I'm just like, put some respect on Clemson's name, because in the 2010s, they had two highly drafted quarterbacks, as well as you had T. Higgins, Justin Ross out there, Travis Etienne. You had players, man. Hunter Renfrow, he gave that Bama secondary everything they can handle. So that's why I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, what is it, the SEC ACC bias? I hate it. I do. And again, from an NFL draft perspective, I can tell you guys, yes, the SEC bias, that's a real thing. Like, teams actually look at players coming from SEC teams in a better light, you know what I mean? Because of the speed, the athleticism, the grown man. It's a grown man conference, truthfully. Like, they play physical. They're the most physical conference. That's why people say it's the closest thing to the NFL. It's the most physical conference in college football. I agree. But at the same time, come on, man. Like, offenses aren't that great. They haven't been that great in the SEC, right? For a while. You didn't get a ton of great offenses, right? It was always their defenses were great and the trench play was great, right? And, running game and stuff like that. But offensively, nah, it wasn't, But again, like, when you look at where, like, he even listed Clemson had a top 10 offense. The seasons that they had top 10 offenses in recent years. 2020, they were ranked fourth. 2019, they were ranked fifth. 2018, they were ranked third. 2015, they were ranked eighth. So I'm just sitting here like, so why weren't they one of the teams that you listed in the 2010s as having, in terms of the best offenses? Like, come on, man. And I feel like they should be higher than darn Wisconsin. What are we doing here? Come on, and it was disrespect to Wisconsin. I rock with Wisconsin. You know what I mean? I really rock with them. But I'm just saying, like, what? Come on, man. What is this? Like, what is this? And then, again, you look at the top 10 defenses or seasons that Clemson had top 10 defenses over the recent years. 2021, they were ranked 8th. 2019, 8th. 2018, 10th. 2017, 3rd. 2014, 6th. 2010, 9, and even before that, 2007, they were 7th. So all I'm saying, guys, is that it's just I don't know. I don't agree with that them being behind Wisconsin for the 2010s, and then the simple fact that you have all these years inside that time span where you have top 10, top 6 to 7 ranked offenses in the season, as well as defenses, and you don't get mentioned amongst the 5 best offenses and defenses of that decade. Okay, I'm just saying, I don't like it. I don't like it. Like I said, with the 2020s, I don't really have a big gripe with the list in terms of where they're ranked. They're fifth, so the top 5. I would say the Michigan one's a little surprising. They only they got a 91.5. Clemson got 91.2. So it's not that much, not that far off. But I think the last 2 years of Clemson football, under with the DJU stuff and everything else like that. And in that same 2 year span, Michigan has elevated themselves, right? Like knocking off Ohio State, being one of the best teams in the country this past college football season. They went to the college football playoffs and barely, and lost to TCU, to Garrett Riley, who's our new OC, but barely losing, right? So like I give them their credit, and I don't have a problem with that. But guys, like I said, the Tigers are in a good spot, but I feel like a little bit more respect. Like I said, but good spot. You want to talk about being in a good spot? Man, this 5-star 2025 offensive tackle, man, is he a dude? I'm gonna tell you all about him coming up next. On the Prowl, guys, listen, we have this kid. I was excited once I was reading his profile over at one.com. I'm telling you guys, go check him out. I was excited to and I'm hoping that this goes, the way that it should, the way that we're hoping, right? Right now, it's 5-star, 6'5", 200 and I think 60-pound offensive tackle David Sanders out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Providence Day School. And right now, the recruiting prediction machine over at one.com has Clemson with a 20.6% chance over 13.6 with South Carolina, 11.7% from North Carolina State, and North Carolina themselves only a 6.6% chance at the particular moment. Like I said, it's not a done deal. We still have a whole nother, 2 seasons to go through, 2023 and 2024, until he, really lands on a roster. But like I said, 6'6", 250, and 5-star. They have him ranked as nationally as a number 3 overall, the 3rd overall national recruit, the first overall offensive tackle, and the number 1 overall recruit out of North Carolina for the 2025 class. And just reading the report on them, guys, I'm excited. This is why I'm excited. I want you to understand this. They're recruiting scouting report on him is David Sanders is a twitchy and explosive jumbo athlete who looks like one of the top offensive tackles early on in the 2025 cycle, a 2-way star for Providence Christian in Charlotte as an offensive tackle and defensive lineman. Has a tall, lean frame measuring in at 6'5.5", 250 pounds with a 6'9.5" wingspan, 9.5-inch hands. Registers as a top athlete, ripping off a sensational electronically timed 4.89 second 40-yard dash at the Under Armour's Atlanta camp prior to his junior season. Transfers that athleticism over to the field, an electric mover for an underclassman offensive line prospect. Explodes to the second level, moves effortlessly in space, plays much stronger than his lighter weight would suggest, has developed upper body and core strength to plant defenders into the ground, flashes some dominant tendencies as a drive blocker and finisher, runs his feet on contact, and plays with some nastiness. Relatively advanced technically, also shows off his athleticism as a defensive lineman, would be an easy Power 5 prospect on that side of the ball as well. Also shows his functional strength in track and field, where he's a standout in the shot put with an outstanding personal best of 53 3/5 feet as a sophomore. Will need to continue to add mass as he is relatively lean and does not have an overly wide frame. Older for the class, turning 17 as a sophomore. So, a lot of things to unpack and to be excited about. Yes, like I said at the end, he's got to add some mass and muscle to his frame, and kind of widen out and everything. He's a little older, being 17 years old as a sophomore. Sounds like the kid might just be one of those. I don't see his date of birth on here, so he might be someone that, his date of birth. He was born after the after the cutoff, which is like September or whatever it is, October. So he may be one of those kids, right? But This is a young man that's extremely talented. And again, when you think about what he's going to bring to the table, being 6'5.5", 250 right now, he can easily gain, not early, not especially early on. Well, I don't even say that. Like, you can gain 30 to 50 pounds in the off season or throughout the season, right? But I think the big thing for him is, he wants to, over the next 2 years, right? He's going into his junior, and then next year be his senior year. Well, all he doesn't need to gain 50 pounds right now. He just needs to gain, I would say, 20 to 30 over the next 2 years. As a junior, go into, at the end of this season, you come into to next summer as a senior, and you're 270. That's good. You're in a good spot. 270, and you're in a really good spot. And I think that's especially the tricky thing is about gaining the weight and keeping the athleticism. You don't want him to lose that, right? You want to keep that athleticism. And he's 6'5.5" right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up to 6'6", 6'6.5", maybe 6'7", and where he is, and then he can still add weight and still be lean, because the taller you get, it leans out. It'll help lean out your body, so he could still put on weight and be 280, 300 pounds at 6'7", and have the muscle mass and not lose the athleticism. So I think that's the big thing for him. This young man is, like, as we see, right, as I just read off, strong, athletic, electric mover. He has everything that we're looking for, right? The ability to drive block, which is in the run game, getting guys off the, resetting the line of scrimmage, latching, running your feet on contact, and driving guys off the football. But he also looks, from the sounds of it, he has the athleticism laterally and agility wise to work in zone schemes as well. Also, as a puller in the open field, whether it's screens, toss sweeps, QB counters, what have you, he can do a lot of different things. So this is one of those complete type of prospects in terms of a scheme fit. Just from reading that profile, that this young man can fit a gap, power scheme, gap scheme, where he's gonna have to do more vertical drive blocks, right? Or he can work as a lateral guy and move defenders side to side and be able, especially in pass protection, be able to mirror and match guys. The arm length is going to be big too, because if he's already 6'5.5", like I said, when you talk about 6'9.5" wingspan right now, like, this kid more than likely might end up with a 7'7" wingspan by the time he hits college, and dare I say, maybe even a longer wingspan when he get ready for the NFL. So we're gonna see. But this is, like I said, he's a 5-star recruit. Their grade for him, like, a 5-star, 98.5. Grade that one.com gave this kid. And, did, like I said, just that nastiness that comes from playing defensive tackle or defensive line, transitioning over to the offensive line as well. Listen, when they say that he could be a top Power 5 recruit on the other side of the ball as well, that's some special athleticism and body composition and everything else, guys. So I'm excited to see what happens with David Sanders out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Providence Day. You know what I mean? Can he continue to keep that? Can he keep that 5-star grade? I have no doubt. But then now the question is, can Clemson close the deal? Can we fast forward to next summer and he's a Clemson Tiger? He commits like Sammy Brown and the guys from this class, from the 2024 class. That's fingers crossed, right? Have our fingers crossed, guys. But that's our show, man. Went over David Sanders, 5-star 2025 offensive tackle recruit, ESPN's decade rankings, and why I didn't disagree with some of the stuff in the article itself. And then, of course, eyes on the league with defensive lineman Bryan Bresee, and the training camp preview, just what I expect from him and what he's done so far through mini camps. But guys, as always, thank y'all for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today and every single day, Monday through Friday, or whenever I drop these episodes. Guys, stay tuned, stay locked in with me, because the season is getting closer. It's close. We're closing in on fall camp and the college football season, guys. For tomorrow's show, we're gonna check the tape for one of our star defensive linemen. I've already checked the tape on Rook. Let's look at Tyler Davis and see what he brings to the table. I'm gonna tell you about his strengths and any concerns or improvements that he can make heading into the 2023 college football season. In terms of Twitter, you can follow me there, Damian Parson at DP_NFL. Already know I talk to me because I talk back. All right. But but regardless, guys, come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day,